Alright, and welcome to this lesson where we're going to continue on developing the notifications page. So continuing on from where we last left off, what we need to do is change the styling of this component. And so in order to do that, we're going to take a look at the nav_list.scss file. And again, I'm watching this file inside of the terminal. Now the first thing I want to do is take a look at this actual unordered list that is nested inside of that div UI_search list. And so when we take a look at this unordered list, we want to edit the spans that are inside of there, because at the moment they're yellow, they're floating to the right and so forth. So what I need to do is strip out all of the CSS properties right here on this selector, apart from the font family CSS property, because that's turning the font into that symbol. If I save that now, hit refresh, you'll notice the spans go into the correct position. Now let's take a look at the UI_search list class. And so you'll be able to scroll down and you go to the search list navigation section. Now the UI_search list has got a box shadow on here. And I want to get rid of that. And also, we don't need to set a maximum width anymore, because the width is being defined by the div element, by the parent. So I can simply get rid of that restriction. So when I save that now, I can hit refresh and it will get rid of the box shadow and the width restriction, because don't forget the width of this parent div is going to change and it's going to go to 100% of the browser's width. And the menu has to grow with that as well. So make sure you take out that max width CSS property. Then also what we have is the span right here, and that span is a little bit too large for the font size, so I'm going to change that to 15 pixels. And also the input as well right here, again the font size is just one too big, so I'm going to change that to 15 pixels, and then I'm just going to hit refresh. And now you'll notice that it's looking exactly how we want it to look. Now what I need to do is take a look at this anchor first of all, and what I want to do is actually give this anchor an ID, because I missed it off last time. So let's put in an ID of side_open and go ahead and save that. And now what I can do is go back to notifications.scss and target that ID side_open and simply say display none. Save it and then just simply hit refresh, because we're not interested in it for now. We will be interested in it when we put in our media query. So let's go ahead and take a look at, first of all, the actual text right here. So what I need to do is actually change this to something that's going to be a lot bolder right here. So let's put this in the strong, and then also let's have an EM right here, and inside of there we're going to put the asterisk, which displays a new message or new notification. And so when I do that, what I can do is I can target that EM that's inside of our UI_nav list. So it's that unordered list right here, and then we can target all the EMs inside of there, and I can say the color is going to be yellow and save that, because don't forget with the strong it's actually setting the font to bold anyway. So what I can do is just hit refresh, and there you go, now you can see that it's bolded. And so what I could do now is simply repeat the process of wrapping the actual name of the notification in the strong tags. So I've gone ahead and done that and saved it. And also, just as a little precursor, we could do UI_nav list, target all the anchors that reside inside of there. We'll wait until they're hover state, and then we can change the EM's color to something like text 1, which is the brown text color. So if I save that now and we hit refresh, you'll notice when I hover over it, I can actually see that little star. Just like so. So that's looking really nice. So the next thing I want to do is actually take a look at the content that's on the right hand side of the page. And so what we need to do is modify this div right here. And let's go ahead and collapse this now, because we don't need to see it. And so inside of there, what I want to do is first of all put in a header 1. Now this header 1 is actually going to be right here. It's going to be this strip along the top, and it's going to have the name of the notification inside of it. So in this case it's going to be John Smith. Then also what we have is the image. So the image right here is just this image of the person who sent the notification, just the same as in the navigation right here. And again, we're going to be using that small_profile.jpg image, and the alt is going to be the person's name. And then also what I want to do is make sure that I put an ID on here so I can target this, like so. And then also what I want to do is put in a header 2. So the header 2 is next to the image. So we have John Smith, and then we're going to have a line break, and then we're going to have the span, which holds the information of their current position. So we can copy that out, paste it in. Then the next thing we have is the B tag right here, which is just this bold text. It doesn't really stand out as a header, so I've just used the B tags. And then also we have the paragraph elements. So the paragraphs are here, so we can just copy this paragraph and then also copy the other paragraph as well, just like so. And then of course what we have is the comment section below there. So with the comment section, this is actually going to be an unordered list, and each one of these is going to be a list item, and the very bottom list item is going to have a text area inside of there. So let's code this up. What I want to do is have an unordered list with the ID of comments. And then we're going to have the list item. So the first list item is going to have an image inside of there, and it's going to be small underscore profile. Then we have the paragraph element, and this paragraph is going to have this bold text in here, and I'm going to use the strong tag right here. Then also we want to break off onto a new line, and then the actual comment from that individual will be displayed. So I can just copy that text and paste that in, and then I can simply copy that list item again, and then also I'm going to create another list item, and this is the very bottom one. So we're going to have the text area element, and inside of there what I want to do is first of all put in a placeholder attribute, and that's going to have the text right here, which is write a reply. So obviously this text is nice and light, but that's only the placeholder text. When we actually start typing in this text area, I want this to be a lot more contrasting than what we have with the placeholder text. Also, if you want to, you can define some rows on here. So you could say something like rows 5, something like that. And I'm just going to save that now, and let's hit refresh. So now we have the DOM structure. What I want to do is flick over to the SCSS file. So we're first going to start out by targeting the main div with the ID of notes, and we just want to apply a few general styles. So for example, the font color. Now most of the font inside of this div is going to be the grey text color, so that's why I've set the font color to text 3, and also the font size is typically going to be 13 pixels. That way I don't have to keep repeating myself over and over again. Then what I can do is take a look at that first child element, which is the main header 1, and it needs to stretch along the top, and obviously we need to change the text and so forth. So let's target that ID, and then let's target the header 1 that is inside of there. We want to get rid of the browser's default padding and margin on this particular element. Then also we want to set the width to 100%, so that way it's going to go all the way across. Then also we have the line height, which is going to be 47 pixels. You'll notice I'm not just setting the height. You'll notice I'm not setting the height because I want the text aligned vertically in the center. So effectively the line height is setting the height. Then also what we have is the border left, which is going to be 1 pixel solid, and it's going to be light gray. And that's because we have this little divider line right here, and so that's what I'm doing there, is just putting that line in. Then also what we have is the background color, which is going to be the cream color. Then we have the text alignment. We want it in the center. We also want the font size to be set to 15 pixels, so it's a little bit larger than what we've set originally. And then also we are going to set the font weight to normal, and we also want the color of the font to be text 1, which is the brown text color. And then finally we're just going to say @include box sizing. And this is because, don't forget, we have set the width to 100%, but then also we've included a 1 pixel border on there to the left. And so what I want to do is include that border in the actual width. So that's why I put box sizing in there. So let's save this now and very quickly just hit refresh. So that's styled up real nice. The next thing I want to do is take a look at this image element and get that styled up. So what I want to do is target the ID user, because don't forget we put that ID attribute on that specific image element, and we want to display as a block level element. Now that it is a block level element, I want to make sure that number one, there's no spacing anomalies, and number two, the content can budge up next to it. So the way you do that is you say float to the left. Then also we have the border. So the border is going to be 4 pixels solid, and it's also going to be brown. So it's just creating that nice surround on the image. But also, if you have the border and then you have the border radius, which is going to turn it into a circle, you need to actually set the background color as well to brown, and that way you're not going to see any gap between the image and the border. Then also we have the margin. So with the margin, we're going to set the top margin to 30 pixels. So we're just going to budge it down a little bit from the header 1 right at the top. Then we have 20 pixels to the right, because we don't want such a gap on the right hand side, just sort of bringing that content in, making things look together. So that's why I'm setting that to 20 pixels, and the rest of the other margins, such as the bottom and left, they're going to be 30 pixels. Then also we have finally the border radius, which I'm going to use my mix in, and we're going to set that to 50%. And just go ahead and save that and just hit refresh. And there we go, our image is now styled up. So the next thing we need to do is take a look at this header 2 element. So I want to target the ID notes, and then I want to target the header 2 that's nested inside of there. Then what we have is the padding, so I want to get rid of the padding altogether. Then we have the margin, so the top margin is going to be 40 pixels. Now the reason why I'm not making this 30 pixels is because I don't want the top of the text right here for the header 2 being in line with the top of the image. It just doesn't look right. And if you look at the Photoshop version, you'll notice that the actual text is lower than the top of the image. So that's why I've set it to 40 pixels. But however, to make sure the text doesn't touch the right edge, I'm going to say 30 pixels. I'm going to say 0 for the bottom margin, but then also for the left margin, I'm going to set that to 30 pixels. Now that won't change the distance between the text and the image. Rather, what it will do is, if that person has a really long name, and let's say we have a smaller screen resolution, and also maybe they have a longer title for their current position within the company, and it has to wrap and go down below the image, it's going to stay in line. So always think about, what if there is loads and loads of text in there. So that's why I put the margin left as 30 pixels. Then also we have the line height, which is going to be 25 pixels. And then also we have the font size, which is going to be 15 pixels. Again, just like the header 1. So save that and hit refresh. I still want the text to be nice and bold, which it is, but what I want to do now is take a look at the span that's nested inside of that header 2 and make that text a little bit smaller. So I'm just going to copy that selector out. So we're going to target that div with the ID of notes, then we're going to target the header 2, and then we're going to look inside of the header 2 for the span. And then what we can do is set the font size to 12 pixels and the font weight to normal. And when we do that, you can just save this now and hit refresh. And there you go, the text is now nice and small. Now the next thing we need to do is take a look at this little bit of text right here, which is in the B tag. So we're going to target the ID again, look inside of there for the B element, and we're going to display as a block level element, and the reason being is because I want it to clear both. So that means that there's no content to the left of it and there's no content to the right of it. Then also I want to set the margin, so the top and the bottom is going to be 0, and then we have 30 pixels to the left and to the right. And so when I do that, you'll notice now that when we hit refresh, it's being nudged down by the margin from the image right here, and you'll see there it is. So the very next thing I want to do is take a look at these paragraph elements. So again, I'm going to target notes, Then I'm going to target all the paragraph elements, and we're going to first of all get rid of any margin on there. We want to set the padding top to 15 pixels, 30 pixels to the right, 0 for the bottom, and 30 pixels for the left. And then what I can do is set the line height to 20 pixels, just like so. And then we can save this now, hit refresh, and there is our paragraphs now styled. So thank you for joining me in this lesson, and join me in the next lesson where we'll continue on developing the notifications page.